Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about how I developed my personal brand and what in the world that even means, and at the same time, how my background has helped me develop my personal brand without even me knowing it. Before we get to the content, please be sure to like this video, subscribe so you can get more content in oil and gas and professional development topics, and please be sure to comment on the video below so I can incorporate your feedback into future videos. Please be sure to hit that notification bell when you do subscribe, because I upload whenever I want. Well, let's get to the content. The motivation behind me talking about this is, for a selfish reason, it's going to help me write my book. But another reason why I wanted to do it is to share with you guys that this brand development, me talking about building my brand, wasn't the original intention to begin with. I'm just going to talk about different elements throughout my story, my background, to give a good example as to how the brand was developed. And maybe you could figure out from your background as to how you were able to develop your brand, how you were able to develop putting yourself out there, your reputation, things like that, just based on some of the actions that you have taken on a day-to-day basis in your life. So now I'm going to go ahead and get started in talking about what exactly I did to develop what is called my brand. What I want to clarify is, you're probably asking the question, what does she mean when she says brand? Personal brand. What is this foo-foo brand thing? I'm an engineer. Well, I didn't even know what it meant either. In fact, when people told me I was developing a brand, I was very confused. But the way that I describe it, and I'm going to describe it in this video or using it in the context of this video, will be how you show up, what you're known for, what your reputation is, how well you develop trust in your relationships, period. So those are the elements of what it is in terms of developing what is called, that overarching word, your brand. Now I'll go ahead and start telling my story. I will start when I was in high school. When I was a senior in high school, or junior in high school, I should say, my mother was poking and prodding me to go for this mentorship program, where the idea of this GT mentorship program in Fort Bend ISD is that at the time you write a research paper in a topic in a career that you want to pursue at the time, and then your spring semester you seek out internship opportunities or mentorship opportunities with an employer or an institution that will provide you that experience. I say the poke and prod, but because I just didn't know how many doors it opened for me and how it's actually changed my trajectory in my career. Because when you're a teenager, what do you think about? You think about your grades. I guess if you're a nerdy teenager like me, you think about your grades. You think about junior prom. You think about UIL if you're in Texas. You think about all the fun stuff that you're going to do with your friends, things like that. So the last thing on my mind was doing an interview for this GT mentorship program. But I did it. And then when I was applying for it, I realized that I was actually putting myself out there. But I didn't know at the time. I thought, this is just another thing my mom told me to do, so I'll just listen to my mom. But I was also pretty ambitious in the sense that I wanted to pursue engineering, but I didn't know what kind of engineering at the time. And I was really leaning on oil and gas, like chemical engineering, oil and gas. But as I did more research, I realized petroleum engineering is a degree that is available in different universities across the globe. But most of the universities that I could afford to go to are in Texas. So I chose petroleum engineering as the career that I wanted to pursue. And I chose carbon capture or CO2 flooding. Somehow I combined the two at the time, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's the interview that I gave, and apparently I impressed the school administrators in that interview because I was selected to be a part of the GT mentorship program. To give you an idea of this mentorship program, there was like over 100 students that applied and 12 get selected. So It's out of all the students that express interest to be a part of the GT mentorship program, and 12 students get selected. So I was like one of 12 that got selected. But that was the first step in terms of this element, this component of building a brand. I put myself out there and I was able to market myself as somebody who wanted to be an expert in CO2 flooding and carbon capture. And it was a random topic that I chose off the internet at the time. And lo and behold, that's what we're talking about these days. CCUS and CCS. So, you never know. Random internet search, a intuition can help you develop your brand. But another takeaway that I wanted to give is the fact that I put myself out there and doing an interview was one component in how I built my brand and reputation, the credibility and reliability. Fast forward to when I was pursuing the mentorship program. Wrote my paper in CO2 flooding and carbon capture. I then was asked to send a bunch of cold emails to people out in the industry. Out of about 20 to 30 cold emails that I sent, I only received one response. And that one response ended up being my mentor in the oil and gas industry. His name is Claude Thorpe. And he worked at the company at the time was called Hamilton Group. So it was a consulting firm. So there's a lot of things that have been coming in full circle where I'm running my own consulting firm. I started out working in a consulting firm in oil and gas. But he was the one who really took me under his wing to learn a lot more about the oil and gas industry. And I ended up getting a mentorship opportunity from him, a summer internship opportunity, and it was a really great experience. But now let me tell you the nitty-gritty portion of my experience working in my mentorship. I learned about the Society of Petroleum Engineers. I was encouraged to apply for the Society of Petroleum Engineers Gulf Coast Section Scholarship. I ended up being a recipient of that scholarship. I ended up going to OTC, sat in on a history matching course. There was a lot of doors that opened for me for this mentorship opportunity. And the fact that I said yes to when those doors were open was another component of how I built my brand. Another thing that Claude told me to do was to open a LinkedIn account. And this was back in 2010. So I've had this LinkedIn account for about 15 years now. And that's how I've been able to develop and grow and nurture that LinkedIn account up until today. So now let's fast forward to university. In university, I competed in Petrobowl and the student paper contest. And then I would network my butt off in order to get internships for the typical rigmarole and getting internships with companies. But that wasn't how else I built my brand. Yes, the subsequent internships helped me build that credibility and reliability. But the competition of competing in Petrobowl, competing in the student paper contest, where, to give some background, a Petrobowl is a quiz bowl where you compete in a team with various questions in petroleum engineering, and whoever answers first and whoever answers first and right gets points in the game. So whoever wins those rounds, they would subsequently go into a matching round, kind of like March Madness, where you have the tournament bracket and then you get to the top two teams to compete for that first prize. So I competed in Petrobowl. The student paper contest is where you write a paper in a topic that you're interested in or in your internship, and then you present that paper to an audience. So I had the privilege of, I competed all 4 years. I never advanced out of the local level until my senior year, where I advanced and I won the student paper contest at ATCE in 2015. Sharing that accomplishment, so on top of all of that, I shared those accomplishments. Like, I made the Petrobowl team. I competed in the student paper contest and I won. So those were elements of me building my brand and in my LinkedIn network to show people that I was able to like have that credibility and reliability, but I didn't know I was doing it. I was just sharing information that were facts, that my accomplishments, things that were happening in the future. Now let's fast forward to when I first got my job in the oil and gas industry and when layoffs were about to happen. At this time, I was able to develop a network by being a part of the Way Ahead in Society of Petroleum Engineers, a global network full of engineers and geoscientists and everybody that is a part of the Society of Petroleum Engineers. So I was able to build that network. And then when the writing was on the wall that layoffs were about to happen, I reached out to 150 people, which were people that I connected with during the recruitment process at University of Texas, which were people that I've interfaced with in conferences such as OTC and ATCE, just everybody that I could think of. And that's when I got one business card from one of my professors at the University of Texas. And that ended up being the university lands opportunity, the Texas Oil and Gas Institute opportunity. And I landed in a week, just getting that interview in a week and then getting the opportunity in the end of the month. So I managed to start a new job a month after I got laid off. But that was another way of putting myself out there. And you'll start seeing this common theme of putting yourself out there, sharing information. And that was just something that I naturally did. But I would also caution you guys that I just had no other choice due to layoffs, that I just had to put myself out there. It was a mere survival. So building my brand was a part of a survival in the oil and gas industry. So now I worked in Texas Oil and Gas Institute and I was asked to write papers. I was asked to be a part of Society Petroleum Engineers Gulf Coast Section, different types of events. So I would attend all the events for Gulf Coast Section. I would write all the papers. And this was another way to build my technical credibility and reliability. And this also inspired me to pursue a master's in petroleum engineering by choosing a topic that was really relevant to the industry. Like there was an industry problem that people are trying to solve, which was optimal drawdown strategies. So I wrote my thesis on that. So I also participated in interviews in the Gulf Coast section in the Society of Petroleum Engineers. Those videos also went viral to some extent. So I developed a reputation in the Society of Petroleum Engineers, and that's how everything slowly grew to developing more connections on LinkedIn. And then this was the first time someone told me about my brand. I had a SP's Gulf Coast section staff member saying, Yoshi, you winning the student paper contest, you co-founding SPE Cares, you doing a lot of stuff for the Society of Petroleum Engineers, you have built your brand. And that was the first time I was very confused because I didn't know exactly what that meant. But as I look back on it, I realized that now I know what that meant. It was building the trust in my relationships, credibility, reliability, and then whenever I shared struggles, whenever I reached out to people during layoff times, that was a sense of vulnerability or a sense of intimacy that I could bring in developing that whole trust equation. Refer to some previous videos that I say when I talk about the trust equation. And fast forward to today, that's how I ended up building my brand. Every single time I go to a conference, I would meet someone new and I would keep in touch with them. Every single time I'm in a podcast opportunity, I would really put my best foot forward in that podcast opportunity, prepare what kinds of questions ought to be answered, showcasing my knowledge. And by showcasing what I know and who I know, and then also making sure that people know who I am, was another example of how I built my brand. But these are just elements that I wanted to share with you, that it was from my mother prompting me in high school and realizing that this was an opportunity to put myself out there, and my mom and I meeting in the middle to say that this was an opportunity for me to start building my brand. I hope you get something out of this story that I was able to share with you guys. There was definitely a lot of information that I shared, but I hope you get some common themes out of how I ended up the way I am today, and to the point where now I'm going to be writing Fueling Impact. And I hope you get to read more of the details of the importance of fueling impact and the importance of building your brand, and how it's not meant really for vanity or meant for excessive self-promotion to the point where you're only benefiting yourself and not benefiting other people. People there was a really good quote that one of my contacts in the industry mentioned, that people won't care until they know that you care. Something to the effect of that. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed everything that I wanted to share with you. As usual, be sure to like this video, subscribe so you can get more content in oil and gas and professional development topics. And please be sure to comment on the video below so I can incorporate your feedback into future videos. This is Yogashri Pradhan. I also go by Yoshi Pradhan. And I run Iron Lady Energy Advisors, a consulting firm in oil and gas. I'm signing off.